look at the wife, queen. So like when girls do that in this in our culture now, they call each other queens. Is it? Sisters do that, right? And brothers don't call each other kings. Okay. Anyway, she's a caregiver and a ministress, or we can say an advisor to the husband. Right? And this we learn from the lives of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. They are the greatest example. So if you want to learn how to be a wife, you have to look at them. He is the greatest example for husbands. They are the greatest examples for wives. So we find all of this in their lives. So what is the role of a minister, right? What is a minister? It's an advisor. So she is an advisor. She's valued. She's respected. You don't berate your advisor. You don't they're actually really valued, and you hire them because of that value, that experience they bring to the table, that capability of understanding things that you can't understand. As a husband, you don't understand everything that's happening in the house, what's required, what's needed, suggestions. All of these things are placed before the husband by the wife, and they're respected, they're understood, they're discussed. It's not like, forget all your stuff, we're doing this. That's not the way Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam behaved. So the wife is an advisor to the husband. She'll inform him of needs and necessities, update him on affairs in the home, grant him good counsel. Now, it doesn't mean that the wife can't work. She can, given certain rules and regulations, of course. The hijab, the ahkam of hijab, and the permissibility of the earnings and what is the job, etc. But a woman can work. Proof of that, Khadijah radiallahu anha, other women. Yet they still fulfilled this. So if a woman decides to work, when she's at home, she's still an advisor. She's still at work. And inshallah, this should be considered the highest stage of being a wife, being a mother as well. Right? All ladies should aspire to be a mother. This is greater than working. This is the pinnacle of being a woman, is being a mother as well. She's going to be a team leader. She's going to be a spokeswoman on behalf of the family. All of these things are what the woman brings to the table. Mother is definitely a leader. She's wise, nurturing, and loving. So these are all various things that we should keep in mind. And inshallah, I'll share some incidents that'll clarify. The first incident here is Khadijah radiallahu anha's consolation to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It shows what a good wife is like, how she lifts up her husband in times of uncertainty. And this incident, as many of you know, is when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first received wahi. He was terrified. Right? He was meditating in Ghar Hira, and then Jibreel alayhi salam came and squeezed him 3 times, and he was telling him to recite. He says, "Ma ana biqari," I don't know how to recite. And then the first revelations come. And then he exits the Ghar Hira and he sees Jibreel covering the sky, and he's terrified. And he runs home. Those of you who went for Umrah, you saw Jabal al-Nur, it's quite a distance. So all that distance, he's afraid, and he runs home. And then Khadijah radiallahu anha sees him. At the time, he's only married to Khadijah radiallahu anha. And he's shivering. He says, cover me. And that's where Ya ayyuhal muzammil, Ya ayyuhal muddathir, those surahs are revealed regarding, meaning the one who is covered in the shroud. So he's covered, he's unsure, and he doesn't know what's happening. Am I going crazy, or what's happening here? This is his first encounter with the ghaib and the unseen. It's not like he knew before that he was going to be a prophet. It's a very unsure time. And easily, Khadijah radiallahu anha could have, it's a make or break situation at this time. She could easily say, yeah, what's wrong? Are you crazy? I know you, what happened to you? You're in that cave too long, and you didn't have enough food and water, and of course this is going to happen to you. And she could have easily went that route. But what did Khadijah radiallahu anha say at this time? So this is the Arabic here. And then when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is kind of doubting, she says, it's impossible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never leave you. I take an oath in the name of Allah that Allah will never disgrace you. Yes, they knew about Allah, right? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadijah radiallahu anha, they were not known to have done shirk. They didn't know the details of the rulings, but they knew about Allah. And that's what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was worshipping to Allah in the cave. So she says, I take an oath in the name of Allah, Allah will never disgrace you. How? Indeed, you connect family ties. You bear people's burdens. you spend on the unfortunate, you host guests, and you afford aid in times of disaster, or you accord aid, give people aid in times of disaster. So she said that, look at all the good things you do. There's no way that you're going mad. There's no way you're going insane. There's no way that Allah is going to disgrace you. This is something really amazing. And she mentions all of these beautiful traits of Rasulullah ﷺ in this time where he needed that. He needed this more than ever. Probably the most unsure time. And she is reassuring Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She's lifting him up. She's there for counsel. Anyone know what she did next? She took him somewhere. Where did she take him? She took him to Waraqa, radiyallahu anhu, her cousin. So he was a Christian. So he knew about the kitab. So she understood. She said, okay, an angel came to you. I've heard of this. And she says, I have a cousin. He knows all about this. He actually used to write the Bible. And she takes him to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So not only does she say these words of assurance, she actually has a practical solution to his difficulty. She takes him to Waraqa and he gives the answer. And he says, you're a prophet. This one that came to you, he used to come to Musa alayhi salam. This is Jibreel. And he tells him, like, if I'm alive when your nation takes you out, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, they're going to kick me out. He says, yeah, absolutely. If I'm alive at that time, I'm going to help you. But he passed away. So the intelligence of Khadijah radiallahu anha as a advisor to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, she gave him strength at the time where there was no one else there. The first person to accept Islam, Khadijah radiallahu anha. Another incident, another wife of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Salamah. This is much later on, in the time of Hudaybiyah. Anyone know when Hudaybiyah occurred? Around the 6th year Hijri, much later on. So Khadijah, that's very early. So this is like maybe over a decade after Khadijah radiallahu anha passed away. Salamah was another wife of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What happened is Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw this dream. They're in Medina, and you guys know what happened in Mecca and Medina. They can't come back to Mecca. They've done immigration to Medina. They love Mecca. They wish they could come back. They love the Kaaba Sharifah. They can't come back. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's dreams are considered revelation from Allah. So he has this dream that he and the Sahaba are doing tawaf, and they're doing the Umrah and the Hajj, and they're shaving each other's heads, and he's like, wow, okay. And his dreams are not just like our dreams. His dreams are real. The dreams of a prophet are real. And he also says in another hadith that my eyes close, but I'm not really dreaming. He's not fully asleep. He sees visions. So he sees this and he tells the Sahaba the next day. They get really excited and he says, this is wahi from Allah. Let's go. We're going to do Umrah. We're going back into Mecca. And they're like, finally, we get to go back. They want to go back. So they all make this trek from Medina to Mecca. Those of you who went for Umrah recently, how long did it take to go from Medina to Mecca? 8 hours by car, right? They go walking. How long would that take? It's hundreds of miles. Walking. Some had like some conveyance, but they're all walking. And they have... It's an 8-hour drive that they walked. Not an 8-hour walk. So it's like, it must be a day or something like that, right? Maybe more than a day. I don't know how. 2 or 3 day journey. And they're camping and they're all excited. They're pumped up. They're like, finally, we're going to Mecca, and that's driving them. Super excited. It's like, we're going back home. We're seeing the Kaaba again. This is the dream of the Prophet. This is not a lie. They reach the outskirts of Mecca, which is called Hudaybiyah. There's some wells and stuff there. It's on the outside of Mecca. And when they try to get in, the Quraysh who are in Mecca, the enemies of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his own family, they send some dignitaries out to say, you're not coming in. We're not allowing it. If you try to come in, we're gonna war. We're gonna go to war. We're gonna fight you guys. The Sahaba, right? They're saying that we have our swords with us. Let's go. We're ready to kill them. We're strong. And they've had some battles with the Quraysh before, so like, we can handle this. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he says, no, I'm not going to do this. I want to sign a treaty. So what happens is, part of this treaty, and outwardly this is a great defeat for the Muslims, huge defeat, and it's one of the times where a lot of the Sahaba were on the brink of like breaking. It's a really emotional situation. If you guys want to read the tafsir of Surah Al-Fath, it talks about the story. So much so that a very famous Sahabi was close to breaking. Not losing iman, but like he was on the edge. Anyone know which Sahabi? You guys know the story?
Okay.
Who? Umar radiallahu anhu. Umar radiallahu anhu questioned Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this time. He's the second greatest person in the ummah. And he said, "Are you a prophet of Allah?" He says, "Yes." And he says, "Then why are we in this situation? We can't even get in. We have power. We're facing all of this humiliation, all these points of the treaty, all in favor of the Quraysh against the Muslims." And then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that I saw this dream. This is wahi from Allah, but in my dream it wasn't stipulated that it would happen this year. So I'm gonna wait. So he felt kind of like, very low. And in the hadith it says the Sahaba felt like dying out of grief. That's the lowness they felt. So Umar radiallahu anhu, he goes to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and he says, "Isn't he a prophet?" He says, "Yes." And then he says, then why are we in this situation? The cool thing is Abu Bakr says the same thing. He said, did he say this year? He's like, no. He's like, then we wait. He said the same thing. He didn't hear that from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He just said the same thing. So anyway, in this moment, they're in ihram. Those of you know when you cross the miqat, you have to don the ihram. You cannot get out of the ihram unless you slaughter. These are different rules of Hajj and Umrah. So now Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells the Sahaba, we're going back. We can't go in. We've signed the treaty. We're going to come back next year. Part of the treaty is you come back next year. You can't do Umrah this year. So now he tells the Sahaba, slaughter your animals, shave your heads. We're going to get out of the ihram. Let's go back home. The Sahaba didn't listen. They just sat. They were so sad and depressed. They're just waiting and hoping that some kind of wahi or something comes. But nothing came. So then they're not listening to the Prophet ﷺ. So he's just looking at them at this point, and he goes inside the tent, and Salamah is there with him, his wife. And so he says to Salamah, look, I told them to get out of the ihram, but no one moved. They're so depressed that they're not ready to listen to me. So then she spoke to him. And this is her intelligence as well, and her counsel to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She says, O Prophet of Allah, would you like that? Would you like for them to shave their heads, to slaughter their animals, to get out of ihram? He's like, of course. She says, why don't you exit? Don't speak a word to anyone among them until you slaughter your camel. Then call the barber and shave your head. That's her counsel to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he did it. He walked out. They're all looking at him. And he goes, and then he slaughters his animal. He calls a barber. He shaves Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's head. Instantly, everyone starts doing it. So all of the Sahaba listened. And then they went back home. This, of course, was not a defeat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed later Surah Al-Fath, meaning this is a clear victory. Those of you who studied the Seerah would know this was the source of the Fath of Makkah, which is the clearest victory. But anyway, the point here is she was there to lift him up in times of doubt. She was a source of strength for him.